It's the Beth Cahill Show. And now, here's Beth.
Good morning and welcome back to another week of the Beth Cahill Show. I want to start by reminding you all that Tuesday, November 5th, so 3 days from today, is the big day. It is Election Day in Seattle, and all of the Seattle City Council members and the surrounding areas as well. Voting is so important. It's always important, but it's incredibly important this time around with these sitting Seattle City Council members. So please, whatever you are doing, vote on Tuesday. Remember that this year, all 7 of the city's district seats are up for grabs. We only have 3 incumbent members running, and my suggestion is that with the state of this city and the shape that Seattle is in, no incumbent should be voted for. No incumbent should or deserves to win back their seat. This is a time for new leadership in Seattle, and this is your opportunity to regain some control back by voting in new and excited candidates to take on this mess that current Seattle Council members have made of our beloved city. So please do your due diligence and make sure you drop your ballot in the mail on Tuesday. It's the big day. We have District 1, West Seattle and South Park. We have incumbent Lisa Herbold and her challenger, Phil Tavel. This is a no-brainer, in my opinion. You have to vote Phil Tavel in this race. Lisa received 50% of the primary vote, while Tavel received 32%. So he has an uphill battle to climb. Go vote. Help him out. This district will be so much better off with Phil Tavel at the helm. District 2, which is Southeast Seattle and Georgetown, we have incumbent Tammy Morales and challenger Mark Solomon. Again, Tammy is the current sitting council member. My suggestion is not to give any incumbent another shot at their seat. They had their chance and they failed. Mark Solomon was born and raised in this district. He now lives in the house of his grandmother, and if anyone knows this district well and how to better serve it, it's going to be Mark Solomon. I think people in District 2 should rally behind him and give him the shot and give him the opportunity at this seat over Tammy Morales. Moving on to District 3, you have Central Seattle, Capitol Hill, Madison Park area. In this district, you have Shama Sawant as the incumbent, and you have Egan O'Ryan as the challenger. So Sawant, we've talked about her before on this show. She's probably the most famous of Seattle politicians, but she's also the most contested. She has driven the Seattle City Council more and more and more to the left. It's time for her to go. You have to go with Egan O'Ryan here. He's lived in this district since the late 80s, early 90s. He knows this district well. He's an activist in this district. I think Egan O'Ryan is the best choice for this one. She has had her time on the council to bring change and for us to see what she was going to do in Seattle, and she's failed to do anything. So her time is up. In District 4, we have Northeast Seattle. So both of these candidates are new, right? Never having served. We have Alex Peterson, who was a former City Hall aide, and Sean Scott, who is an advocacy journalist and labor organizer. In the primary, Peterson has a 17-point lead, so this is going to be an uphill battle for Sean Scott just on its face. I would take Peterson in this race regardless. I think having worked in City Hall gives him a bit more of an edge just in the experience category alone. But again, these are both 2 new candidates running, so I would take Peterson, but either one is going to be a good, nice change. In District 5, you have North Seattle. You have incumbent Deborah Juarez versus Ann Davison-Sattler. Again, another incumbent running, so you know my take on this. But furthermore, Ann Davison-Sattler has made homelessness her most pressing issue of her campaign. It's the thing that she says she is going to focus most on, so I say let's give her that chance. Let's see what she can do. District 6, we have Northwest Seattle. Dan Strauss is running against Heidi Willis. So Dan Strauss is a policy advisor. Heidi Willis is a small business and nonprofit director. This race could go either way. In the primary, Dan Strauss received 34%, while Willis received only 21%. The good news again here with this race is that they're both new. We need new blood on this council. So This one could go either way, but they're both new and should be a nice change here as well. The last district, which is District 7, Pioneer Square to Magnolia, where we have Andrew Lewis. He's a lawyer at the city attorney's office, and he received 35% of the primary vote. He is running against Jim Pugel, who is the former interim Seattle police chief. So they both have similar priorities. They both are wanting to address homelessness, affordable housing. Andrew Lewis has the edge, having received more of the primary vote, but either choice is going to be an upgrade from before. The big takeaway with this really is just to get out and vote. This is so important for the future of this city. I hear time and time again that people feel helpless in this city. So all of the helplessness that you have felt up to this point in dealing with the free fall of this city, it's your chance to take your city back. It's your chance to get involved and rally behind these new candidates. These new candidates are willing to jump in and offer themselves up into fixing a mess that right now seems incredibly overwhelming to fix. This is your chance to vote out current incumbents and give other candidates a shot where these council members have clearly failed us. Don't pass up this opportunity. So please, whatever you do, make your voice heard in this election. It is that important, and our city depends on it. I want to move on to national news now because something really big happened on Thursday morning, where the House voted on a formal impeachment inquiry. They voted primarily across party lines, and the only bipartisan votes actually came from 2 Democrats who voted with Republicans against this inquiry. It seems also fitting that the 2 clips that I'm going to play, one from Adam Schiff, who has become really the most powerful man in D.C. right now, and one from the minority leader, Republican Kevin McCarthy. So this is them speaking on the floor of the House of Representatives before the vote took place. So let's hear from Adam Schiff first.
Despite attempts to obstruct, we have interviewed numerous witnesses. We have provided important testimony about the efforts to secure political favors from Ukraine. Who have provided important testimony about the efforts to secure political favors from Ukraine. We have reviewed text messages among key players which show how securing political investigations was placed at the forefront of our foreign policy towards Ukraine. This resolution sets the stage for the next phase of our investigation, one in which the American people will have the opportunity to hear from the witnesses firsthand. We will continue to conduct this inquiry with the seriousness of purpose that our task deserves, because it is our duty and because no one is above the law.
So that's Adam Schiff. I'm gonna turn it over to Kevin McCarthy, who spoke after him, and let's take a listen to what he has to say.
You're elected to represent the people of America, not to deny their voice. This House is so much better than what is transforming today. I believe everyone who runs for this office runs to solve a problem. But when you go back to the American public with the achievement of more subpoenas than laws, that is not why you ran. That is not why we are here. And that's why I agree with my colleague, Mr. Cole, that believes in the power of the people, people before politics, that we believe and know we can do better, that we believe the Speaker when she said about cooperation. We believed her when she said if you trusted them with the majority, they would be different. I guess it's only fitting you take this vote on Halloween. I yield back.
I think it's important to discuss what Kevin McCarthy said at the end of that clip when he said, if you trust us with a majority, we will be different. What he is referring to is the 30-plus Democrats who ran in the midterms in districts that Trump carried. They ran on working with this president. They ran on getting things done. What they did not run on was impeachment. And yet here we are. If you are just tuning in, we are talking about the vote that took place on Thursday morning where the House formalized their impeachment inquiry. So the House voted, and I'm going to read to you how they voted. The votes were 231 yes votes from Democrats and 2 no votes from Democrats. There were 194 no's from Republicans and 1 yes from an independent. So on its face, it seems to be a big step in moving forward by formalizing this process, right? I want to go through this with you piece by piece so that we don't miss anything. Back in March, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, insisted that in order to move forward on impeachment, it had to be a bipartisan effort, right? They would have to have support from both sides in order to move this thing forward. So my question, and this is not condescending at all, my question truly is, what has changed? I just read to you the way this was voted on, and it was strictly voted on a party line vote, with the exception of 2 Democrats who broke with their party to vote with Republicans. Yet here we are. It's moving forward. To back up just a bit, again, this entire inquiry is based on a telephone call between President Trump and the president of Ukraine. I read the transcript in last week's show, so I'm not going to do it again, but the charge here by the Democrats is this. President Trump tried to bribe the president of Ukraine into investigating Joe and Hunter Biden. And unless he investigated them, the U.S. would not give Ukraine the aid money that had previously been approved. The problem with this theory of a quid pro quo is that if you read the transcript of the call, that's actually not what was said. And the Ukraine money wasn't held up. The Ukraine officials were unaware that aid was even being delayed until a month after the phone call with Trump and Zelensky. And again, the aid was released without any new investigations happening. So if the quid pro quo is you better investigate Joe Biden or you're going to receive no new aid from the United States, but then you receive aid and there's no new investigations, wouldn't it stop there? They received their money. So where is the quid pro quo? The other problem with this theory is that the president of Ukraine himself says he was never pressured and he didn't even know this was going on behind the scenes. So here's the deal. Either Donald Trump is terrible at bribery or there was none. This is not a partisan issue for me either. If Trump did something wrong or bribed a foreign government, I would say so. And I would say he deserved to be looked into for it. I really encourage my listeners to go read the transcript of that call and decide for yourselves. President Trump made this transcript public. And if there's any question in your minds about what's going on here, read the transcript. It's available. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to the Beth Cahill Show, and we are talking about the impeachment inquiry that has taken place on Thursday. So again, the basis for all of this is that call and that transcript, all of which is available. And the problem that I see here for both parties, to be honest with you, is that there's no real precedent for this, right? In the Nixon era, it was 100% bipartisan, right? So that is why he resigned. He knew that there was support there for his impeachment on both sides. You then have Bill Clinton, who was ultimately impeached on charges of lying under oath and obstruction of justice. That was primarily a party line vote as well. But the difference that went on there and what's going on here is you had outside counsel. You had Ken Starr, who did a 4-year-long investigation into that. And what we have here is we have Chairman Adam Schiff. And the problem with Schiff is he's 100% partisan. He became a national figure when he continued to go on national television during the Mueller probe to tell everyone there was evidence of Trump-Russia collusion, which ultimately backfired because Mueller was unable to show that to the American people. So I don't believe that Schiff is the right messenger for this. It would be similar to Republicans putting up, Jim Jordan or Congressman Devin Nunes to run an impeachment inquiry into the next Democratic president. I'm sure Republicans would cheer that on. They would love that choice. But I can't imagine Democrats feeling like that was giving them a fair shake or an unobjective process. And talking about process, let's go through the process so far. There have been several weeks where meetings have been held in the basement of the Capitol. There have been witnesses called to testify. Democrats are going to tell you that both Republicans and Democrats are able to ask questions of these witnesses. And yes, they both have been able to ask questions. But when a Republican would ask a question to the witness, there were times when Adam Schiff instructed the witness not to answer the questions. He instructed him not to answer. So I wish I could give you more insight into the transcripts of these testimonies and what it actually says, but they have not been made public yet. In fact, there are members of Congress, ranking members, that haven't even been able to see them. So the newfound formal inquiry the House voted on Thursday, it's supposed to shed new light on this process and make it more transparent. But from what I can see so far, it looks like more of the same. You're going to continue to have Adam Schiff have all of the power. They're now saying Republicans are going to be able to call witnesses. But again, the witness has to be approved by Adam Schiff. So in theory, yeah, it sounds like a fair process. But if Schiff doesn't like the witness that's being called, it ends there. That witness doesn't get to come testify. I want to move on to where the American people are with this whole thing, because that is something that we will have to follow very carefully. Public opinion matters, especially when you're talking about possible impeachment of a sitting United States president. I have my own thoughts on this. I think that we are in an election year, and this should be on the voters to decide. I think that is a strong stance for Republicans to take. I really think that they will play it safe if they continue to go back to this and remind the public that, again, we're in an election year. If you believe Trump did something wrong, you have the ability in 12 months to vote him out. Where this gets a little dicey, though, is for Democrats, who will eventually have to vote on this in districts that Trump won. You've got at least 30 members of the House that need to be very careful in how they do this. Trump carried their districts, some by 30 points or more, some by 8 points, both fairly large margins. Their job is to be the voice of their constituents, right? So how do they toe this party line while also representing their district that voted for Trump? I mean, if you eventually vote to impeach Trump in one of those districts, are you committing political suicide? History would tell us yes, that they are. The Republicans lost seats in the House and in the Senate after they impeached Bill Clinton. Time will tell whether history repeats itself there or not. I believe that it probably will. I believe that this will get Trump's base going in a way that we haven't seen before. The other thing that's really interesting in all of this is public polling of the impeachment inquiry, right? I mean, it's easy to think about when you have national polling. You've got New York, California, even places like Seattle, where there is overwhelming support for Trump's impeachment. But where it gets interesting is in middle America. It is the battleground states that are not fully on board with this yet. Maybe they'll get there, maybe they won't. We'll see. What we are seeing in the polls is that America is okay with the actual inquiry. They approve of it. I think America, by and large, wants to see everyone is on the up and up, even their president. So they're okay with looking into this. But what I think is happening when you dig deeper into the polls in these battleground states is that they are not saying they want him removed, which means they don't believe the Democrats have the goods yet. They have not been convinced. The Suffolk poll asked 3 questions. Number 1, the House of Representatives should vote to impeach President Trump. Number 2, the House should continue investigating Trump, but not vote to impeach him. Number 3, Congress should drop its investigations into the president and his administration. So 36% of those polled said that the House should vote to impeach. 22% said that the House should continue investigations but not impeach. And 37% said the House should drop its investigation altogether. So you have 59% that are not in favor of removal of this president. Maybe you're thinking that's an outlier poll. Okay, well, there's another poll in the New York Times Siena College battleground state that found the same exact thing. They found that the majorities in Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Florida oppose removing this president from office. So I think that the Democrats obviously need to bring forward something compelling enough to move those numbers. And if they don't, this is going to be remembered as a political hit job against a sitting United States president. And I don't think the majority of Americans, whether you like Donald Trump or whether you agree with Donald Trump's policies or not, are okay with the idea of that. This is a country that values fairness. So I will keep watching these numbers, and if the meetings become more public, which they're supposed to next week, hopefully I will have more to talk about next week on that once we've seen some of these transcripts. So look forward for more of that to come. The last topic that I want to discuss is the amazing, amazing job that our special op forces and President Trump did this week with the operation that killed al-Baghdadi. This is a man that founded one of the deadliest terror organizations that this world has ever seen in ISIS. I mean, this was a man who literally burned people alive, oversaw gay people being thrown from buildings, raped and murdered women and children, and the list goes on and on. He was one of the United States' most wanted men for years. And this operation our military carried out was nothing short of perfection. They deserve all the credit, along with our commander-in-chief who gave the green light to this operation. It was a bold and risky move by the president to even green light this. And it was a successful mission, and the world is a much safer place without Baghdadi in it. Donald Trump campaigned on defeating ISIS. And like most things, I do not believe he or our great military get the thanks that they deserve for destroying this great enemy of the United States. I want to play a clip for you from Lindsey Graham in describing Trump and how he has gone after this enemy.
The president changed the rules of engagement. You think the caliphate destroyed itself? He made a conscious decision when he went to Iraq to change the game when it came to destroying ISIS. He's had a determination to destroy the caliphate unlike anybody I've ever met.
So you hear from Lindsey Graham, you hear from other Republican senators, congressmen, and they all talk the same way as far as how Donald Trump has been steadfast in his mission to defeat this enemy of the United States. And my only thing is that I think that we all kind of rallied around Obama when he killed Osama bin Laden. And it was a great day for America, and it was a great day for his administration. And, you know, I just wish that we could get to a place in this country where we can celebrate victories no matter what administration they are coming from. I hope that we can get there, because this was a great, great mission by our president and by our military, and they deserve credit and they deserve thanks from all of the American people. So thank you guys for listening today. Next week, I'm going to continue to update you on all things going on with the impeachment. We should also have election results from the Seattle City Council. I also want to discuss where, as a society, we are with this whole culture war that we have taking place. We have Kanye West, who dropped a gospel album last week. And for starters, if you have not listened to it, go get that album, because it is good. It is everything that's great in this country. And I'm going to talk more about that next week. Have a great Saturday morning, everyone. Thank you for listening. See you next week.
This has been the Beth Cahill Show. If you have any feedback for Beth or would like to suggest a future topic or guest for the show, email beth@thebethcahillshow.com. That's Beth at the Beth Cahill, spelled Cahill show.com. Tune in again next Saturday morning at 9 for more of the Beth Cahill Show, right here on AM 1590. The Answer.